Okay, folks, it's your buddy, it's your pal, it's Mike Messier, and I'm in the middle of a rainstorm, and I was going to do this nice wrestling memory of the Great American Bash '91. Now, I'm sheltered from the storm. Unfortunately, for WCW in 1991, there was no shelter from the storm of 9,300 something Ric Flair fans chanting "We want Flair." Just to give you a sense of environment that I'm in, folks. Normally I like to do these videos in a nice sunny day, but the day is about to end, and I didn't want to forget this important day in pro wrestling history. It's also Black Saturday. You might remember this was the day that pro wrestling really died. I want to take off my glasses because I want to shoot straight with you folks. This is the day that pro wrestling died in a lot of sense. The territory system, Vince McMahon coming on WTBS and just ruining everything with his goddamn WWF Yankee crap. But let's talk about 7 years later. The NWA is officially no more. We now have WCW, World Championship Wrestling. The first official World Championship Wrestling world champion was Ric Flair, as a result of his victory over Sting in the New Jersey Meadowlands. And even that show apparently was tough because in the middle of a snowstorm and not many people were there. Apparently Lawrence Taylor was on that show too, in some regard. And what the fuck else? We move forward to the Great American Bash '91, and we know the whole deal with Jim Herd, the whole deal. I mean, look, there's other websites that'll tell you the background. I want to give you my opinion on the show, having watched it as a fan, my personal memory. I was actually in the hospital as a teenager, in a medical situation as a young man before that show. They weren't sure when I was going to be able to release from the hospital, and I made a request to be home for the July 14th. And the doctor said, "Don't you mean the 4th of July?" And I said, "No, July 14th. He said, "Why July 14th?" I said, "That's because Ric Flair is going to wrestle Lex Luger in a steel cage match." Well, apparently that did not happen. As we know, Lex Luger wrestled Barry Windham. Now, Barry Windham, along with Ric Flair and Flying Brian Pillman, the original Flying Brian, are my three favorite singles wrestlers. Probably along with the Steiners and the Road Warriors as my favorite tag teams. Maybe the British Bulldogs, the young British Bulldogs. But here we were, getting ready for this Great American Bash '91, and just a lot of mojo was gone, a lot of excitement, because Ric Flair was gone. All that energy on Ric Flair, and this in a way, people shit on this pay-per-view, but it's really one of the first times that the fans became more part of the show than just being fans. The "We Want Flair" chants, the overall disappointment in the show. This is like one of the first times, before really the internet took off, before most fans were, quote, smart, quote, people really knew that there was something wrong here, because the NWA just kind of let Ric Flair go, which would really be the equivalent of if the WWE at the time had let Hogan go. So, in any event, the show, as far as a match-by-match analysis, you can just look across it. It's really a show that's actually painful to watch. Once again, let me get into the memories. Sitting there and watching this show, watching this pay-per-view with my friend coming out of the hospital, it made me want to go back to the hospital, to be quite honest. The show was really long. I mean, it was a 3-hour show, but it felt longer. The Ricky Morton versus Robert Gibson match, although I was not a Rock and Roll Express fan, you could just tell that people weren't really into this. People were not into watching Ricky Morton as a heel savagely attack Robert Gibson's knee for 17 minutes. That match felt like it went on forever. I mean, if you watch that match and then Edge versus Randy Orton at this year's WrestleMania from the Performance Center, it's kind of the same thing. Like a match that just does not feel good to watch. Probably the best match on the show, action-wise, although historically kind of irrelevant, was the Freebirds along with Fantasia or Bad Street. It was actually Brad Armstrong wrestling a rare brother versus brother match against Scott Armstrong, who was one of the Young Pistols, along with Dustin Rhodes. And imagine that. The victor was Dustin Rhodes. That was probably the best match on the show, action-wise. Although I will say this, for all the booing and bullshit, Luger and Wyndham in the cage with the Harley Race finish, I don't think that's a bad match. I think that's actually a good match under the circumstances, meaning that the crowd was pissing on it. Turning Luger heel and winning the title, and then Wyndham eventually turned babyface, although it took a while. I don't think it was the worst thing they could have done in that circumstance. But it just was what it fucking was, folks. I mean, it's kind of like this goddamn rain. It's like, I'll show you the rain. It's more exciting than just me. But in any event, the Great American Bash 91. Trying to think, okay, here's the thing that Wikipedia has wrong, at least I think they do. The last match on the show, and here's your age-old debate of, is the last match on a wrestling show the main event? Well, on this show, the last match was Rick Steiner and Missy Hyatt versus Paul E. Dangerously and Arn Anderson. On Wikipedia, it says it's a handicap match. From my recollection, folks, Missy Hyatt was officially in the match. And Missy Hyatt main evented a pay-per-view, if you want to put it that way. That's why that age-old goddamn debate of, is the last match on the show always the main event? And I say no. Because on this show, Luger versus Wyndham was the main event. That was second to last. And that tag team match, although it was kind of a throwaway gimmick match, poor Arn. I mean, what, is this one of the few times that Arn Anderson has closed a pay-per-view? I mean, I guess you'd have to see maybe a War Games, and I'm trying to think. Maybe War Games 92 Arn Anderson was in, which was the main event, but probably in Arn Anderson's career on pay-per-view, he probably only main evented 2 or 3 shows on pay-per-view, and this was probably one of them. Him and Paul E. Dangerously versus Rick Steiner and Missy Hyatt. You had a lot of crappy gimmick matches on this show. You had, a lumberjack match between Black Blood, who was Billy Jack Haynes apparently, that I didn't know at the time, against Big Josh. You had fucking Yellow Dog, who we did know was Brian Pillman, against Johnny B. Bad. You hear Pillman say the F word, Johnny B. F. I would say the whole word, but I don't want to be Twittered fucked on it. Then you have all these wonderful things and so forth, and I just don't know. It's just a shitty goddamn show. One of the worst matches ever, probably the worst opening match ever. Terry fucking Taylor and Steve Austin against PN News and Bobby Eaton, and PN News of the babyface, Terry Taylor and Steve Austin of the heels. One of the worst matches ever in professional wrestling history, a scaffold capture the flag match, because nobody, namely Taylor nor Stone Cold, wanted to take the fucking knock off the scaffold. Here's a little revisionist fucking history, folks. What would I have done to save the Great American Bash 91 if I was the booker? I would have, the one good match, the other good match on the show was Sting versus Nikita Koloff, Russian chain match. Sting takes a rare loss in this era, and Nikita gets a win. But what would I have done differently in this show, folks? I would have scrapped the whole card. All the matches would have been gone. And I would have replaced it with an 8-man single elimination tournament. You had the Diamond Stud. You had Ron Simmons. You could have, you could have easily had that match as a match. You had Vinny Vegas. I mean, you had 8. My point is, you had more than enough singles wrestlers to constitute an 8-man tournament. And as a matter of fact, if you wanted to have Luger versus Wyndham in the first round, Nikita versus Sting in the first round, I don't know if you want to do Ron Simmons versus Oz in the first round, or Diamond Stud versus Big Josh, or whatever the fuck you wanted to do. You could have had a really nice, solid 8-man tournament, which you still could have ended up with Luger versus Wyndham. I mean, and I do feel that sometimes these promoters, especially in that era, it was Jim Hurd apparently, who, for whatever the fuck reason, in between pizzas, was doing the booking. You could have easily scrapped that whole show, had your 8-man tournament, ended up with Luger versus Wyndham anyway, had Luger pull out Harley Race and fucking his bodyguard there, his big man, Mr. Hughes, you could have easily done that, and nobody would have been the lesser. So I do feel like in the course of an 8-man tournament, would the fans have stopped chanting, "We want Flair, we want Flair"? Would they have done that the whole goddamn show? I don't know. But I think as a buffer, look, if you had Arn Anderson in this tournament, Rick Steiner as a singles, because Scott was injured at that show. I mean, look at the guys you could have had. Rick Steiner versus Arn Anderson in the first round. Barry Windham, take Windham and put him somewhere else. Have like Windham, you have to separate Windham and Luger. So you want to have Luger, Lex Luger was going in as a babyface, right? So have Luger versus Arn, I guess sacrifice Arn. Have Luger versus Arn. Have Sting versus Nikita. You know, have Nikita get one over on Sting in the first round. That would be a big upset. Then have Luger versus Nikita, which at the time would have put an end on their feud. If you had Luger win, but maybe cheat somehow to beat Nikita in the semifinals. And on the other end of the bracket, you'd have Barry Windham, who's a babyface, but of course he's the heel going into this thing. So you want to have Windham maybe get a victory over Dirty Yellow Dog, which is Pillman, under the hood. Have Elegante against the one-man gang, and then maybe have a Barry Windham versus have Elegante get disqualified as a little bit of an upset. Have Windham as a heel versus one-man gang as a heel in the semifinals, which is really not a very good match. But if you had Windham beat him, that might get some babyface sympathy for Windham going to the finals. Now you have Windham coming off victories over Dirty Yellow Dog and One Man Gang against fucking Nikita, against Luger, who's got victories over, what did I say, Arn and Nikita. And you have this fucking match, and basically the big swerve still happens. So you could have rebooked the whole goddamn show. That would have been 7 matches, no double DQs, no double countouts, no bullshit. And you had 7 matches, so you could have still had your 6-man tag. And if you really wanted to, I guess, you could have take out fucking One Man Gang versus Elegante, okay? And put Ricky Morton versus Robert Gibson in the opener. Then you have Windham beat the Dirty Yellow Dog. Ricky Morton beats Robert Gibson, so you have, in theory, heel versus heel, Windham Morton, but have Windham win. Now Windham versus Morton one-on-one with Windham going in as a double heel match, but somehow Windham gets sympathy. Maybe you have the fucking Terry Taylor and the fucking Alexa York Foundation come out and try to interfere, and Windham overcomes. So you got Windham going to your goddamn finale. Windham versus Luger in the finals, and Lex Luger wins with the same thing, Harley Race and the Curtis fucking Hughes. And so I've just rebooked this goddamn show that's 29 years old. Obviously, there's nothing we can do about it now except enjoy this wrestle rewrite, rebooking the territory, so to fucking speak. So Mike Messier, look, I've got all these pro wrestling videos here, folks. I'm putting this one in a special pro wrestling memories section. I should have had that shot for you all along instead of just my skull. I look a lot better zoomed out. Sorry, gentlemen. I have 100% male viewership on this channel. That's fine. So guys, you're probably wrestling fans like myself. I've got the Ox Baker movie on here. I've got tons of stuff. I'm doing this revamp on my website. Look for my extension for TubeBuddy.com with the last 4 words are mess, or the last 4 letters, MESS. So look for that on this YouTube page. I think it's like TubeBuddy.com/mess. It saves you $15 if you're a content creator, or if you want to be one and you want to use this application process that I'm using now to clean up this channel. I've got Airbnb, promo codes, all types of good shit. Go to MikeMessier.com, dig around in there, find all types of wonderful things. I'm really putting some effort in while we have the rain and the COVID and all the fucking bullshit to clean up this channel. MikeMessier.com says thanks for watching. Luger, Windham, Great American Bash 91. One last goddamn thing. I was going to try to stick to less than 15 minutes. I fucked up. Sorry. The poster for this show says Legend versus Legacy. And it's got Flair as the legend and Luger as the legacy. And I just feel that maybe that poster, although obviously that match didn't take place, was a little bit misleading, because it's like, what does that mean? Does legacy mean Luger is building a legacy? Like he's a legacy in the making, and Luger and Flair is already the legend? I guess I was a little off-put by that, to see that poster. If you compare this Great American Bash 91 to Great American Bash, especially 89, that's when the Baltimore Bashes, which was essentially 88, 89, 90, 91, those four, and they didn't come back in 92. They went to Philly because the fans were booing so loudly in 91, so they got punished. The goddamn fans got punished for booing. But if you look at that legacy, 88, 89, 90, 91, those four, 89 is by far the best. I think you'd have to put 90 as the second best. You'd put fucking 88 as the third. And you'd put really, really, really low the 91. Now, if you were going to incorporate the 96 Bash, and I guess there was a few other Great American Bashes from Baltimore pay-per-views, which I just can't remember off the top of my goddamn head. But if you were going to put 96 in there, I think you could probably make a case that 96 might have been better than all of them. 96 might have been better than the Flair Sting, or maybe not. Depends on your flavor. It's a totally different era. It was the Bischoff era, but I have to give him credit. That 96 Bash was pretty fucking good. And that's why I said I might put it over 90. I don't know if I'd put it over 89. I probably wouldn't, because you had Flair Funk. This is the Mike Messier Great American Bash series from Baltimore. I was not at this show. I was watching it on television. And like I said, it made me want to go back to the goddamn hospital. MikeMessier.com. Please like and subscribe and comment and pin your comment and all that good stuff. So on and so forth and so on and so forth. Look for all my wonderful videos on this channel, and hope you enjoy your rainy days and Great American Bashes.